Right. So start the meeting now. Um, just talk for me. So the finance will become our core. So there are no members of the public here today, and it's a fairly detailed agenda. So we've got the normal stuff on there, and then at the end, it will public exemption. So an overview of where we're at. Where are we? Apologies for absence of this of substitution. So I have Dr. Robert Keane and Dr. Helen Thornton, who are given apologies. Councillor Mark. Sorry. Yeah, if it doesn't arrive, we'll accept his apologies. You guys are following, I think. Okay, so that's everybody. Declarations of interest. Anybody got any? No? Fine. So then we'll kind of move on to the substantive parts then. So agenda item 3 is to approve the minutes of the Finance and General Purposes Committee on the 16th of February. So that was our last one. Any corrections or inaccuracies? Councillor Charlie Williams.
Just made the front sheet spell councillors to count.
Fine, we can take that amendment. It is. Oh yeah.
Good, we've got Roger Bailey here.
Page.
Members here in front of you.
Oh, we're looking at different names. Where's that?
This sheet.
Oh, our actual agenda.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, if we meant any in the minutes.
Oh, right. Okay, sorry.
Any inaccuracies in the minutes. Yeah. So no minutes. Obviously, this agenda item will correct that before these minutes. So we don't ask the question next time. Can I have I'll propose, can I have a seconder for the accuracy? All those in favour? Thank you. So the next bits are the notes from the last devolution start and finish group. And just as a reminder, that was the group that met after FEGP decided on the devolution framework. Any questions on that?
Any response from we asked for work to be done before we volunteer to take over?
I have a meeting with the officer this week.
And that would be fed back to amenities, I
We'll
assume.
go back to
No, go back to amenities. Unless any other questions, I'm happy to propose those as accurate. Okay, that makes sense. I have a seconder that those to approve those. Thank you. Oh yeah, we've got to approve the note. All those in favour of approving the devolution minutes. Thank you. The next one is for receiving notes. So this is the internal health and safety meetings that are held between February and March, pages 15, 19, if you're trying to find them. Questions, observations? Councillor Charlie Williams.
What is?
So when we did the museum, the doors were already there and the building is listed, and they slide back. They're on a runner at the bottom that slides back. We built out staircases going up to the office, and is where the main electricity boards are. And where the wall comes in and the track, so the track actually goes into some of the wall, into this new cupboard. The track is very old and is bending in certain areas because it's used a lot more than it used to be. And so it gets stuck on the track and it comes off the track. So we can't open the whole door at the moment, but there is a half door. It's almost, if you go around, the museum still looks open, but there's a blue panel at the top at the moment because that's the door that would normally open right back. So it's quite a complex job to get to said track without taking walls down and taking the doors off. So we're having to pick an opportune moment to do that. It's the joys of having a grade 2 listed old building. Well, exactly. It could be worse. It could be worse. Oh, yes, Sam.
Councillor Peter.
Well, no, I'm going to the fact that Sarah just like to talk about doors.
I love a museum tour. Yeah.
Any other questions about health and safety, doors? No, so we'll note those ones. onto the finance element of FGP. So this is fairly standard. What I'll do is the unapproved expenditure first, and then we'll do all the footnoting after. So within your pack, you'll find the schedule of unapproved expenditure. It's page 20. Each time we need to approve those, but any questions or observations on that? No. So are we happy to approve those unapproved? So it's just echo cancelling, sorry. Oh, there we go. That's disconcerting to see my own face. Okay, so are we happy to approve those unapproved expenditures? If so, I'm happy to propose. You have a seconder, Councillor Charlie Williams. All those in favour, that's really carried. So we'll do all the foreknoting. So what, actually tell a lie, the 2.7 cash flow movement, I think we'll do that separately, because I think that's what we talk about. All the others are foreknoting and are fairly normal. We've got the bank reconciliations, budgetary control report, the bank interest report, schedule of receipted income, outstanding balances report, overspend report, and we'll do the cash flow one separately. Questions, challenges, observations on any of those? There's no bad debt to write off, is there? No, I don't think there was. No. Excellent. Okay, so those. Oh, yes, those are for noting. The cash flow movement. What that was, it's different to what you normally see. So I thought that was useful just to talk about that a bit. So that's at pages 66 and 69. Sorry, let me just find that. Do you mind just giving us a bit of an overview? Is this following on from the decision to move money around our treasury strategy?
Yes, it is probably the investment strategy. What we've done is trying to gain as much interest as we can for the money as quickly as we can. There will be times when that falls between legal. So as part of the came out previously, we've actually make that investment, get the right signatures in the right place at the right time, and then bring that certificate back to the committee saying we've actually invested those funds. So what we're trying to do is move the money in and out as quickly as we possibly can to get as interest as possible. And on this occasion, what we're going to start to do is bring the cash flow movement between the accounts, bank accounts, back to show you so that you can see that that money's been invested along with the strategy.
So going forward, this is going to be more regular now than I would assume. So do make sure you're comfortable and familiar with those reports coming. I think everyone's fairly comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we will approve the treasury strategy. So if we're not, that's our own problem. Okay, so that was just for noting. Just a final opportunity. Is there anything in foreknoting on all those finance bits? No. Internal audit. There's a lot here about internal audits. I think we'll take each in turn, I think. So agenda 7.1 is to review the effectiveness of the internal auditor for 25-26. So that's the financial year just gone. And that's page 70 to 79. Let me bring that up. And it's up to us to, this is a standing order requirement, isn't it, to approve the effectiveness of the auditor. You can see it all in there, kind of how we feel we meet the audit planning and reporting, we meet the relationship management, conflict of interest management, etc., etc. Does somebody want to give a quick overview? Who wants to go into explaining this now?
Yeah, so basically, as part of the requirement, we have to make sure accounts are happy with the effectiveness of the current auditor. And as part of that, we have to show to our external auditors that we are happy with their conduct, they've met all the requirements for all their legislation. So at the end of that meeting, we've got today a report that has to go back to our external auditors, which is signed off by the chair of this committee, make sure that we're happy as part of the council, and we've agreed that we've got everything in place and we're following all legislation and all that.
So from an officer viewpoint, then, are you comfortable with our auditors?
Yes, so the current auditor, Auditing Solutions, there last year, the gentleman who currently does our audit is actually retiring. So the next part of the agenda is to look at the next company that's coming in. But for the year ending 25-26, which we've just completed, we're basically saying that we're happy with what he's done throughout the year. He's observed all the things that he's pulled out through the audit, he's questioned everything accordingly, and we've actioned everything accordingly. So yeah, it was really easy to remember.
Any questions on the
So
effective?
you're happy with them, they're happy with you, and we're happy with all of you.
Lovely.
I will find out in a minute.
Yeah, it is all part of your governance, which you have to sign for. It's all part of your governance, and you do sign for it, and you do receive the reports. And I've got one throughout the year, so that's you as a council
Yeah.
being asked as well.
So any other effectiveness before I ask you the question, or are you happy? Any other questions?
No, it seems straightforward.
So then, could I have a proposal and a second then to approve that review of the effectiveness? Councillor Crew to propose, Councillor Charlie Williams to second. All those in favour? That's been carried. So that auditor is obviously retiring. So that segues us, I think, to agenda 7.2, which is to approve the following internal audit documents. And that's also last year, 25, 26. Is that 26, 27?
No,
No, we still work on last year's together.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, of course. Can't audit something that's not happened, right? So 7.2 to approve the following internal audit documents. There's a letter of engagement in your pack, which you'll find at 80 to 81, and then you'll find a 5-year strategic plan in page 82. That rolls us up to 2026, effectively. Any context or anything you want to add?
No, it's again, it's belt and braces, making sure that we've got all our governance in place. Excuse me, and just meeting all the requirements that to get a clean audit.
Any questions, clarifications people have? Challenge? No.
No, sounds like a plan.
So let's approve both at the same time, the letter of engagement and the 5-year strategic plan, if we may. So I'm happy to propose that. If I get a second, Councillor Crew. All those in favour of approving those 2 documents I've just said there. Thank you. That's clearly carried. 7.3 is to receive the second internal audit report for year 25-26. And that you'll find at page 83 rolling up to page 93. So this is for noting. So we periodically will receive the internal audits that have been done. If I was to summarise it to a member of the public who doesn't want to read all the documents, effectively they're content with how we are undertaking our processes. There were some issues with our payroll, but that was with our payroll provider that have subsequently been corrected through amending the software. Basically, is what's happened. Any questions on the internal audit that's taking place? No. Always wary when perhaps just don't ask questions. If I'm always going too fast, you can always let me know. So that's my notes. John. Right. So now I think we're on to the new auditor.
Yes, so since the gentleman retiring, we did a new internal auditor to start for a 5-year plan, as we've done with the previous one. So we're bringing all these documents to you early, so we're approving them up front in readiness for the year ahead. When they've started with their internal checks at least 3 times a year, first off, and usually half year and then the end of the year. So this is a new company. It's the PATAS, which is the Parish Auditing Services. Very similar to the previous company that we've used, so that the legislation and governance in their plans and how to show those plans, what the work schedule.
Will that save us money using them?
It was about the same. Yeah, it wasn't much different. They came recommended as well through the SLCC and through now. So yeah, we've taken some guidance on going out and make sure we've got the right bit.
to go through a full procurement exercise.
At least they understand the way things work.
Yeah, and that's one of the challenges I think in this sector that we're in is there's not a huge amount of auditors who understand parish councils, and then those big global firms like really struggle, and we've seen that in different authorities. Just so I'm clear, obviously the audit plan that's in here that's attached to the letter of engagement, that presumably is incomplete, as in we will then pick what they do at what time. This is a template in there to show us all the things they could cover, then we need to pick when that happens.
Well, they will come in and they will do all of that 3 times a year.
Okay, I see. I've got you. Okay.
And then they have to prove through their audit plan. But then need to.
So they'll review them regularly, but the time commitment, they will
Yes.
fill that out when they are ready to do so. Any questions on that before I go forward with approval? Nope. So we will do both again. So the letter of engagement and the audit plan. So I'm happy to propose that we take on that new provider, the letter of engagement and the audit plan. If I can have a seconder.
Yeah.
That's Robert Payne. All those in favour? Thank you. That's clearly carried. Okay. Right. So agenda I. Oh, I'm normally competent. Agenda item 8. External audit. This is the conflict of interest declaration. You'll find this at page 100. Let me just bring it up from memory. This is us ensuring we have no conflicts between us and these external auditors. Yeah, so ignore the internal, we've done all of those. This is external auditor, and it's basically declared that no members and likewise staff have any form of conflict with them, i.e. you don't work for them, a family member doesn't work for them, you don't have a grievance against them, you see what I mean, like those kinds of conflicts. So my understanding is, yeah. Yeah, so it's a general reminder, actually, as councillors, it's good to record our conflicts of interest because when moments like this come up, we're able to easily just assess if we've got any conflicts with the provider. So that's fine. So we are requested to, recommend sign the conflict of interest form. Yeah, so that, who's signing that? Sorry, me?
Going to be staff.
Yeah, so I'm signing on behalf of councillors in a nutshell, that's what's happening. Okay, that's fine. So there's actually two things. Make sure your conflict of interests are up to date, being one, and we as councillors approve me signing that on our behalf to say there are no conflicts between us and BDO Limited Liability Partnership. So happy to propose that, considering I'm signing it. That feels reasonable. If someone could second it, Councillor John Cropper-Hawley, and all those in favour of me signing that and us having no conflicts of interest. You know what? Thank you. Right, back to finance. So within pages 102 to 104, we're going to talk about to approve the final earmark reserves and capital reserves for year 26. Just bring that one up. So you'll see this in your document. We are still in estimated in here because obviously things move around. So you'll see that highlighted in yellow. And then we've got Castlebatch Player and Waterloo Street highlighted in green. Is there a reason for that?
No, those are just the projects that were actually highlighted to be done.
I see. Okay, that's fine. So effectively everything is not green is now really, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Any questions on earmark reserves? Councillor Robert Payne?
They're going to be. No, so those figures that they allocated 3,750 and the 1,554 retention values that held at the end of the contract. We hold that 5% of the value of the contract to make sure it all works better in the release.
So effectively it'll be zero. If the work is completed as to spec, it'll be zero. If it's not, that's
We'll go to cut those three things will carry over to the next year, to 12 months from
it's not, they didn't finish bang on the end of the financial year. Any other questions on the earmark reserves? So there's a fair amount in there. There's 442,000 basically, with the bulk of that being, ironically, my ward, it would appear, the Morton's play area.
That's the capital reserve.
That's the capital reserve, sorry, yeah. Oh yeah, there's also other reserves revenue as well. Okay, if there's no other questions on that, well then. Yeah, and I suppose the question leaping onto that, are these sufficient for my reserve as well?
Yeah, so we're at a point where from the consolidated sheet that you've got in your pack here, we've actually realised that from the end of the year it's just rolled, that there is a year-end prediction to find out exactly what we've got left over or what could be moved into any of these reserves. And we're in got to a point now where we're in a position we've got roughly around the right level of reserves in the general fund now. So if there are any unexpected projects that need emergency works, but actually we are in a good place to actually cut those.
So we're currently all right, providing nothing goes wrong.
Yeah, but those general reserves are top.
You should work in risk management. And just to confirm, the estimated reserve balance, so the general reserves is 756,205. So double the amount.
So we need to make sure those general fixed around 3 times our minimum payout.
Any other questions on earmarked reserves? So we need to approve those earmarked reserves then. So earmarked reserves and capital reserves, apologies, that's a habit. I'm happy to propose that. Councillor Crewe, second it. All those in favour of approving the earmarked and capital reserves? That's clearly a majority. Oh, that's fine. This one might need a bit of context. So agenda item 10 is about the vehicle lease update. You'll find it at pages 105. But if I was to summarise it in my language, we've identified that as we are growing as a council, we don't have enough vehicles. One being is impacting the play areas, particularly with repairs, doing stuff there. Because the previous dog bin one that was used is now full of dog bin stuff. So that is why there is a request for a lease, and I think we're using earmarked reserve.
No, it's the essential maintenance.
That's it.
Placement program for parks and play areas. So it's coming out of the budget.
Yeah.
General budgets. I think, just to give some context on that, we've always had 3 vehicles. We expected that to 4 when we took on dog bins. You've grown again, and where we used to, one person could do the dog bin round, come back, and then that vehicle could be used for getting equipment to play areas in the afternoon. It now can't. It's out all of the time. So we now got operatives having to take operatives to a park, leave them with their tools to work, go and do something else, and come back. We've just grown. We've squeezed it and kept it as low as we can for as long as we can. But we're now not being efficient by the way we're having to rob Peter to pay Paul and act as a bit of a taxi service to get the team across what is now a big portfolio of. And now we've got the quarry, so we've taken on more parks, areas. We've now got the quarry. It's a squeeze, and we're being busy fools, spending a lot of time driving each other around rather than getting the job done.
That's okay.
The money coming from the maintenance of the park and play, that means that there will then be not enough money.
So first question, no, all the parks and play areas, all the cleared items have now been done, but because the parks and play areas can't not be done. It's the other things that are now at a squeeze. So it's getting round to get the team back into the town to do the vitality stuff. It's getting stuff that needs replacing at allotment. So all of the rest of the services are being pushed because parks and play can't be pushed because of the health and safety on it. But all of those on PSS Live on our management system, all of the high and medium items that are recorded there are clear. We're just doing routine items now, but we are stretched. So with another 8 coming over any day, it's going to put that pressure on more. So that's the first question. The second question was... No, there is enough money in the maintenance programme with what we are working on, and we are working with with amenities, with the play strategy and sports strategy to look at how we now apply our monies to those parks before we spend it. But even so, we can't, it's the vehicle getting us to those parks. But no, it won't impact the maintenance of the parks.
It's £400 a month, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. 4,800. John?
And it's always sensible to lease vehicles rather than own them.
That was your decision. We used to own them and then we ended up spending an absolute fortune. It was a bit like Trigger's broom. Then a door fell off and then something else fell off. It really was. It got to a point of.
If you, Kevin, if you look at the vehicle which is well used in the industry, it costs about £5,000 a year maintenance to keep it on the road. So for at least £400 a month, we're on the right side. But as we know, when we talk devolution, as we grow vehicles and people, we need to grow with it.
That's Tony Williams.
I was just asking two questions. I presume the new van will have branding on it. How much is the branding?
If it's nominal cost, it's £200 or £300.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And just someone, where are
They're either kept at the quarry or at the cemetery.
they? Okay.
We haven't got that many. We've only got 4, but yeah, they are kept there.
When they're broken down, we kept the cemetery.
I think the only other benefit to it is this will be a dedicated van for parks. So not only can they get there, we now won't have the operative going to a park, finding they need some stuff, got to go back to the cemetery office to get a purchase order. We'll kit that van out with essential repairs. So there will be 5 swings kept on the van. So because they're the things that get wrecked, and we'll be able to replace them because we won't have one vehicle that's just dropping an operative with some tools and their phone and then not knowing what they need. It will be a proper maintenance van to try and get a bit more efficient in what we're doing.
So the recommendation for us is to approve effectively the lease of a new dedicated vehicle, and with that coming out of the maintenance budget at £400 per month. So that's the recommendation. I'm happy to propose that. If I could have a second, Councillor Crew, all those in favour of that recommendation. That's clearly carried. Insurance. So agenda item 11, pages 107 to 109. Effectively, again, I will try my layman's explanation. So if you can challenge me if I'm wrong. Our insurance is coming, so our main insurance is coming to an end at the 30th of June 2026. But like many insurances, we have the ability to extend. But you can only extend for so long, so we can extend if we want to 1 year, which is the discussion now, and then in a future year it can be extended 1 more time, I believe. But there's a debate to be had about when you cure. But the thing in front of us today is effectively the question of, do we trigger the extension clause, in which case we've got another year, or we don't, in which case we've got 3 months to cure on your product. That is the question before you today, but it would actually be useful to get some guidance on, do we need to start to prepare a procurement for new insurers? Councillor Crew?
I think realistically, Chairman, if you look, as we're in the middle of the devolution discussion, that seems to move across. To me, it makes sense to extend where we are at the moment, because as time moves on, we're going to need to procure more insurance for all the extra things we're doing, which we don't need to at the moment. So extension seems to make a lot more sense at the moment rather than procurement.
I'll do a follow-up question in a minute, Councillor John.
I fully understand the increased costs, where our costs not increased. But I don't understand the lack of suitable cover from providers in a complex sector. With so many town and parish councils around the country, why is this a problem? Surely there are expert providers.
We got something when we did this exercise 3 years ago, if you remember, we had to extend the procurement. We might have been on the committee. So for context, we had to extend the procurement window because we only had 1 quote back. We went out to probably 10, 11. It's a very specific insurance that's for town and parish councils. You can't just go to, like you would our household brokers. They don't insure us. And 2 of the quotes that we eventually got in were underwritten by the same underwriter. So actually it was Aviva and Aviva, with either Zurich as the host or James Hallam, who we're with now. So they were the same. 3 of the others would not insure us. A lot of them won't insure us because Weston is on a floodplain, just won't do it. And a lot of us, because of our size, won't insure the level of our risk because they do small town and parishes. So it is increasingly difficult to find people that are able to and competent to ensure.
So what they're using is the evidence from the department map.
Yeah.
Which shows potential flood problems.
Yeah.
If no seafront flood defences were in position.
Yeah.
Which is often nonsense.
Ridiculous, but we had that conversation. I live in uphill, I've got water around my house, so I have this every year I do mine. I said, can we just go on Google Maps? Can I just demonstrate to you how far this building is from that and the Blake Gate is from that? Won't touch it. The underwriters won't touch it. So it is a problem for us. So I would strongly recommend that we go for a year, because I honestly think we would struggle now to get that insurance quote with 3 months, and with the lack of resources, with Helen and I covering phase roll as well. It's a big exercise.
My controversial question is, sometimes in sectors, not necessarily here, the organisation decide to self-insure, which is just a buzzword for we're not going to get insurance and we'll pay out of our reserves in a nutshell. Are we in a space where that might have to be us one day? Or are we legally what I'm basically asking, there's a seesaw, right? Of effort to try and get insurance and get some benefit from it. There's so many caveats to it, it might not be worth it. The other side is self-insure, insurance claims are low, it might be worth it. I'm throwing it out there.
I think it's, if we have the same problems, I mean, I've been here 20 years and that was the first time we've ever struggled to get more than 2 people to quote for our insurance. So it is a sign of how insurance has changed over the last 5 or 6 years, for sure. If we struggle again next year to go with it, we will have to look at. I don't know what the answers are, but we did take a lot of our stuff that we used to insure off of our policy. So we used to insure every dog bin, every bench, they all came off.
So we also have
the
insurance.
decision. So we are insuring more now. We don't insure the smaller items.
Buildings which may be used.
Yeah.
There are going to be others, say, in the cemetery, which are not, which don't be problems.
That have significant value, like your grade 2 chapel. So I think there will be decisions that you need to make, but the fact is they won't. We even said that, is there items that you will insure on these schedules? I'm not. No. Your area is at risk of flood. We won't do it. That's what they said.
That's the thing.
I think if you agree to extend it for the year, we would need to start this process in 6 months' time, well before that year is. Normally procurement's about 10 to 12 weeks. I would say we need to be going out 6 months earlier, and it may well be that there may be a price variation at point of finishing, but you would understand your market well in advance. Yeah, definitely.
I think for me, if we did that and we so went out 6 months' time, if we don't, we would then have enough time to make a judgment of, do we self-insure or do we trigger the extension again or go with the new? It's code for don't have insurance.
So we've got a big excess on the flood already, which came through your last procurement. So there's a bigger excess on flood damage than there is on lightning, for example, or theft, for example. So that's already in play. But yes, I think it is. We do need to, if you extend it now, we will need to start this process 6 months to give councillors ample opportunity to say that this is what the market's saying. How do you want to react to it? What do you want to do? But there's no indication that James Hallam, our current broker, and Aviva are not going to be willing to insure us. What you don't have is a big choice of insurers, which gives a bit, exactly.
And their investment's not
Any other questions on the insurance? So I think, so the recommendation, I'm just going to tweak the recommendation ever so slightly. So the recommendation is to extend for 1 year, begin to plan a procurement in 6 months' time. And then obviously whatever happens out of that, we'll come to FGP. Fair question. Was there an earlier opportunity to have this paper?
I think it's fair comment. This came up on our normal contract insurance and our timelines of normal timelines. In hindsight, yes, but hands up, we've been short on the ground here, and we've just been rolling with the day to day. That's not an excuse, but now we're here. We do need to recognise that it could be. It might, we might get 4 this time. I don't think that's likely from last time, but
So I think what that tells me is there might be an opportunity to change our timeline, so in the future it comes earlier, just to cover off ironically the risk of not having insurance to an affordability that we can.
I think what we're saying is people might
sooner.
Yeah, correct.
What we must inevitably do at the other time.
Yeah, and I think when you did procure 3 + 1 + 1 because it's a professional contract. So we are still actually 2 years from when you formally have to make a decision, but we never just assume that we will roll that contract without bringing it back to committee. So in terms of the procured, it was up to 5 years, definitely 3 with permission for 1 + 1. So we are ahead of the, absolute crucial deadline in you've got to procure now.
So the recommendation is to extend by 1 year. We're keen to prepare procurement so it's 6 months out of the financial year, so that's what September, October time. And then just make sure in the future it comes earlier in the timeline. That's effectively the recommendation. So I'm happy to propose that if I can second that. Councillor John Crockford-Hawley. All those in favour? That's clearly carried. Thank you. Right. So we're on to the kind of governance section of FGT. So this is page 110. Is the next one. So this is the report from the anti-racism champion. In fairness to Councillor Reynolds, it's the only champion that actually does send regular reports. Although I keep telling her don't report as much, but I think that's credit to her for actually giving a report. That's for noting, of course. It's page 110, 111. Caroline's not here. I think she's away. She's away. If you have questions, we'll need to take them back to Caroline. But any questions, observations, or
Maybe should being hold my own hands, being the only appointed champion who actually does give a report. I'm very conscious I don't give reports, so I ought to on that, but I think they probably have reason for not doing that.
Sorry if I interrupted, John. It was just
stand against race
Inequality.
and inequality. It's Bristol. That's Bristol area based.
I think it's something more.
Yeah, that is also sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so I've got 12 on mine. Maybe I've got a special agenda.
We've got 11 on the principal.
Oh, there you go. That's a correction ahead of the next minutes. Charlie, write it down. So obviously those are the notes. There's no questions, Caroline, but I do think, do pass on our thanks. I think there's a wider question for me. I think I say it every time that we probably need to amend our standing orders at some point to get champions and external appointments to regularly do it. But of course, we're not at that stage of the year to do that. Or without pulling up the list, I don't know. We've got armed forces.
5 or 6. Anti-racism, armed forces, Burnback.
That's not.
That's an appointment.
That's a representation, isn't it? So there's about 5 champions. When we approve your committee membership in May, we're going to add something into the standing orders where it's the role of champion, where it's given what's perhaps required, like we did.
So that will come into future standing orders.
Yeah.
We did from Catherine last time, yeah. I think what also isn't clear is the frequency of it. My view is at least once a year is fine because some of these champions are so infrequent. But Caroline just does it quarterly, just because Caroline's able to. Okay, so that was just for noting. Agenda item 13. So these are groups of policies. I think we'll take them in turn if we can. So 13.1 is the community engagement plan. You'll find that at page 112 to 104. This is very much something that I think is borne out from previous strategy discussions and just general engagement we do where we get low kind of engagement in certain places. So I can't remember if it was a strategy meeting or it was kind of sanctuary, but anyway, there was a meeting where we kind of said, that was it. We need an engagement plan so we can start to improve the numbers of the people who engage with us. That I think is the context, unless officers wishes to add anything else.
No, I think that's it in a nutshell. I think what it does is this will be published. So this is our pledge. This is how we will engage with it. It's very much to support your democratic roles as elected members. And the outcomes of the engagement will also be website with what we've done, how it's been achieved, and we'll work backwards with stuff that we've done. We know when it's done well and effectively, it works. When you try and shortcut it and you don't do it effectively, it doesn't work, which was some of the putting a survey up and asking people to now respond is not effective community engagement, because you'll get the same people that respond to the survey every single year. But when we take surveys out and sit in front of people and we have conversations around a table, we get a lot more feedback than we do by just popping it on social media and doing that. There's also there's plans to hold workshops with senior management and group leaders. So have open days. There will be slow burns, but it will just be certain days throughout the year where people can come in, and that doesn't just have to be restricted to group leaders. It can be with other councillors, and just let people come in, because we do have that. The amount of times I come downstairs where somebody wants to speak to us and they're like, well, is there an afternoon we can come to find out about these things? So people do want to do it because our door is open. So we do get quite a lot of that. So we'll work through that with councillors, probably introducing it from the second quarter, so from July right through to March. We'll work out how in doing that. And certainly the development team, we are now doing 2 lots of community engagement a month. I'm doing 2, the other members of the team are doing 1. Did one today. I went to Weston in Bloom, went out with Weston in Bloom and sat with 8 of them, listening to what they're doing in Bloom now, in the town centre. So it's all about getting people aware of what we're doing, making them aware of how we can help them, linking them up with other people. So we're just trying to be a little bit more proactive with that, because when we do it, it works, and we do well from it. Quarry's a really good example. Castlebatch SEND Park is a really good example. So
Councillor Crew.
Thank you, Sarah. And just a couple of things on page 120, I think is critical. Once you get away from the town centre, you get out into Uphill, North Warburton, places like that. People aren't so engaged. And I think the idea of having public meetings is critical. And I think we should be doing that. We should be, if I know everybody says I'm talking about the campus, we do the campus, that virtually covers 5 wards. Currently, the people that use campus covers 5 wards. We're looking at to revamp it into a proper cafe, other than what is there at the moment. We've got some North Somerset funding coming through for that. And I think to have that in conjunction with notice boards. Because the other thing is just having a notice board, you can put newsletters and things in our normal locations. People don't look at that. What you need is when places like where you've got to walk in, where you've got a cafe and things like that, a proper notice board, it gives information about the town council. I just think that's one way to draw those people in, because it's actually amazing. There are people living in Westwick that never come into the town centre. They work in Bristol, they got on the train or got on the bus or they drive, they never actually come this way. And because everybody says, well, if you go in the summer, you can't move because of all the people on the seafront and so on. We need to be actually encouraging those people, getting their views when we're looking at play areas for the future, the things we're taking over. We need to get their views, and the way to do that, if you held me and say Uphill, Northwood, maybe at one of the schools, up the top of the hill, it just takes that and get those people involved, and getting the kids in the schools more involved. And that is it, which you know, we're doing something like North Somerset at the moment with waste collection. Getting kids more involved to say to their parents, you know, we should be recycling that. So it's just something, those two things I draw out from that because I see them as going forward critical. With devolution, they're even more critical.
Any other thoughts, comments? Councillor John?
You know, I've tried not to be cynical about consultation, but there are times when I look on the last page, 211, item 6, engagement fatigue. I think that there is a real problem when people might not understand or perceive the purpose of something other than yet another bit of consultation. There are times when I feel we are overburdened by all sorts of government, local government bodies and charitable bodies, all desperate to, quote, consult, or what ultimate purpose other than, you know, tick a box and say we've consulted the public. So, whilst I see the point, I'm sometimes, no, cynical is the wrong word, I'm sometimes skeptical about the real purpose.
I agree. I think that and I say it to the team all the time. We did one the other day with a minority group, don't like that word either, but that's the way to describe them. And we were doing a conversation and the officer said to me, can I do this? I said, yeah, but what's the why? Why are you asking people to come and talk to you? What's the purpose? If you don't have a purpose and you're not saying to people, we would like to talk to you about this, because you are right, you are going to get that fatigue. So it's how you do it. It cannot be just another general survey. And I think we've learned that. The last budget survey was a real good example of that, wasn't there? Too many questions, too much all in one go, where, I mean, I looked on it and I know what I'm being asked. Are you going to sit there and go through for another 4 pages of survey? No, I'm bored now. I've done the first half, and actually some of the last half was probably the crucial bits we needed. So it's the why, the when, the how, and the what. You've got to get it right, and I think that.
I should think the Castle Batch one was a good example. We involved the police, community response. We had everybody involved in those discussions.
There is increasing academic research into the purpose of consultation, where it is being thought that it replaces difficult decision making at times. We are spending so much time consulting because we're fearful making a decision might cause unpopularity in certain quarters. I think there are times when we can overdo it. I remember all the consultation we had over the Sovereign Centre, which I think was possibly a waste of time. The only effective change that came from that was to drop the word centre and to call it Sovereign. Absolutely nothing else from that consultation had any effect at all. But it ticked a lot of boxes in the column marked outcomes.
Leaping from that, I think to me this is about quality of consultation. I think we know when we've done it well and when we haven't done it well, and we need to do those more times when we do it well.
Absolutely.
But not do it to do it safe.
Yeah, but not do it for do it safe, but also accept we cannot do it for everything. That's the other element of it. Like it is so intensive to do the quarry stuff when you're having a minor conversation about shall we take on the notice board in Hayward Village. You see what I mean? Like there isn't one, by the way.
I think there is that balance, isn't it? Because under the Localism Act now, you are obliged as a council to demonstrate that you have consulted. I actually prefer the word conversations rather than consultations because I think they are more.
And that's an important thing. One could joke about going down the pub and having a conversation, but having conversations is often much more productive.
A conversation to gain ideas to help inform decisions rather than putting off decisions, which is why the quarry worked and why the Castle Batch worked, because that's exactly why we did it. So I think the words and the language you use in the outcome is really key to how you do it. And the quarry were conversations. It wasn't consultation.
And you have to make sure the people taking part feel as though you're listening. Then we're seeing coming in and saying, oh, well, it was just a paper exercise. You just have to make them feel as though.
And going back to them, and that's
Yeah.
what you need to do. So
Any other comments on that before I push us to vote for it? Okay, so that we need to approve the community, we don't need to decide if you approve it, but the recommendation is to approve the community engagement plan, as you've seen in the papers. I'm happy to propose, if I can have a seconder, Councillor Crew, all those in favour of that engagement plan. That's clearly carried. The next one you'll find at page 125 to 150, and that's the procurement guide. Let me just bring this up. Yeah, so in practice, this kind of helps staff navigate consistently the procurement process, but actually us as councillors knowing what's happening. This is a review from memory. And I think some of the changes, particularly to levels, I think was a recommendation from an audit review. Oh, I am competent. So the changes are minor. One of them has already been discussed at a previous FGP. So you will see the changes in red in your papers. Questions, challenge, observations. Yeah, go for it, John.
Final page, 1-1. The newly worded section, supporting local communities, supporting community well-being, moving towards a sustainable environment. At what point do we impose upon businesses to do so much extra work? Because these are the things which we demand of them, rather than their ability to provide what it is we want.
So I was trying to find it. I've got it here now.
I mean, for instance,
Oh, yeah.
support community well-being, the number of people working on the contract who live within X miles of Weston-super-Mare.
So with the social value, this I can't even tell you. Councillor Payne will recall, because he used to chair expenditure and governance, how many times the social value policy went round committee, came up through here, got sent back down again.
Yeah.
It went on for the best part of a year because there was a lot of exactly that question. At what point are we not contradicting what we're saying by trying to use local? We are discriminating against small and local by expecting a lot of paperwork behind just giving a quote. So what we've said now is at a level 65,000 and above, there is an expectation that all of that is met. Below that, there are 9 questions in social value, and you've given the authority to me to choose the best questions, maybe 1 or 2, definitely not 9, that are appropriate for the level of procurement. That was the outcome.
Which is only the 65,000.
Yeah.
Massive. It's a local building. You give them all of these questions.
Yeah.
The donation to local community funds, educational information events you're able to have in the community centre. 65,000 quid. I'd say.
That's what you've decided with your social value policy that went round and round and round. That's it.
So I suppose the question, has this been looked, because we had some recommendations from audit, didn't we, about procurement, which has changed to finance levels. Did they pick up on social value at all? Because effectively, it is up to committee to lift that value if it wanted to do so. I was just thinking, has that been identified or not from audit? It feels like it hasn't.
No, it's just a line very correctly.
Just
So it's within our remit.
Yeah.
just following up so from with Robert as well, that we actually managed to push back on a hell of a lot that certain members wanted in it.
So
Didn't we?
yeah. So when I say it's all of it, it's one element for each of the question, because on the page before, the procuring officer, which is me, ultimately, I have to pick at least one from each section. So if it's a bigger contract, I'll pick more than one, but at least one. So for a very small company, it may well be number of individuals that you provided work experience with, or do you have an apprentice? That would be one for the economy. On another small contract, it will be number of people working on the contract. So if it's a very local build, do they employ locally? The third one might be the percentage of materials that you are procuring sustainably. So we can choose one question, not all.
What I don't understand. You employ somebody to fix the thing because the market is going down now and you want your drain replaced. And you're asking them what they do to use your bin. They're digging up drain and getting rid of
Only for contracts over £65,000.
£65,000, but there's nothing.
I think the debate here isn't what's being asked. I think the debate is what's the value of when the questions are asked. And I'm saying there's nothing stopping you from making it higher, from what I've understood.
And I'm saying I haven't got a problem with it anyway. But this did go round and round and round and cause an awful lot of. So when we did the play areas, I picked one question for each of those. So they had 3 questions that they just had to provide a paragraph on. We don't-
But it's not always though, because our procurement isn't restricted to Western.
Exactly. So I probably wouldn't ask that question. I would probably ask, where is your company based and distance from the job, which is my discretion. So if it was a very small company, I wouldn't ask that question. But if it was somebody like, I'm just trying to think of a big building, I don't know, Midas, big building, national building company, I might ask that question. But if it was Joe Bloggs round the corner who's an electrician or a ground worker and works on his own, I would just say, where's your company based? So you did give me that discretion because it was causing issue, and we haven't had issue with it. But I do take your point completely, and I don't disagree. But we did. But I can choose one of each question, so I will look at which question.
I think the issue is the level of value. So when we did this, how many years ago was it? The businesses will be used to some of this because we're not the only ones doing social value. It is also a requirement. But how long ago was this? Because I'm just thinking a very practical question. If we chose 65,000 5 years ago, you add inflation to that, it's great. You see what I mean? So that pulls in some of the smaller ones. How long ago were you the chair of E and G?
So 65 value is based on the high level of the full procurement. When we go out for full procurement, not just quotation. So when we go to tender, it was just before we left Grove, so 2 years ago. It's when we go out to full tender. If I am just getting 2 quotes or 4 quotes, which is up to £25,000, we don't do any of that. Well, we don't because. So this did go round, but it's up to you what you want. But this is in your financial regs. So this is just mirroring your financial
we have to change both.
But your financial regs are coming back for review in May. So if you have got comment on it, we can, now is the time to, and we'll.
So we can make, we effectively would be changing it now. We'd be making a recommendation. That's changing it.
Yes.
Councillor Williams?
Is there a possibility? Is that you need to be training, you want to ask if it is like a local park, you might want to ask if they're removing the flower beds, put in a pavement, for instance. You would want to ask, are you going to put back flowers somewhere else? Is there a space for us to change the type of work that we ask the question?
I think the challenge, having someone who's done a lot of procurement, is that moment you get a huge scale for one thing. Let's say you exclude building or repairs. What happens if the council decides they want to award a contract for the full build of all of our properties whenever they're needed? That would be very different and would highly likely ask value questions, opposed to Bob getting on the ladder and so I think the problem is scale more than type. But you could exclude for type. You'd probably have to exclude for type and scale, is what I'm basically saying.
The most critical thing in this is the flexibility that the officers have. The questions are there because reluctantly in the end, we had to accept because of certain councillors' argument that we should do everything in-house and all the rest of it. Apologise for not being here tonight, but you are. It's just one of those things that, with the flexibility, be able to ask or not ask the questions, at least we've got the flexibility. Some of the questions are stupid, but we agree they were stupid at the time. But in the end, to get the whole thing through, that was the minimum we came up with to be acceptable, but with the caveat that you don't have to ask all those questions. It's flexibility down to officers, which makes sense. What I would say is the reds which are in here, for what we have at the moment, makes sense
So,
as it stands at the moment.
so is there an appetite change of value or not?
Yeah, so we go out to full tender then, it's not
Yeah.
just quotation. So we have to go through a full procurement tender exercise, expression of interest, put it on find a contract. It's that level that's the threshold that we, as a council, say we have to do. But of course, now the find your contract is called now, isn't it? Not find your tender or contract, whenever it is now 25,000. So in order to do full procurement, we have to put that on. Find your contract at 25,000, but we still don't introduce social value because ours say 65,000.
Sounds like it, and it's for us as politicians to decide that limit. I don't want to turn this into an auction. What fit? So this was 2 years ago. What inflation 2 years ago was what 11%, and what 3%. So that's what 14%. So you're upwards of 70 grand plus. Anyway, if you're looking at it in real terms.
Yeah, 75.
But you're the one that's most uncomfortable, John. You'd have no value.
Financial point, which may be getting worse than what our own in America does. We want to do everything we can to support businesses, particularly the small businesses. Can't cope with this nonsense.
Make a suggestion then.
Go on then. Oh,
Well, I would.
I would incrementally. I'm going to come up with a figure. I know I said I don't want to turn into an auction, but I think it's the only way out of this room today. Considering inflation, considering where things are going, in my head, 80,000 feels more comfortable.
Not changing it.
Yeah, I've not done the exact maths, but it's probably not far off. Roughly. Well, I'll say in real terms it's gone up, but I don't want to turn into an auction. Like it's either changed or it's not changed fundamentally. Yeah. We've got. If you want to change it, we need to make a recommendation for May. You want me to put to a vote? I assume.
I agree with 100.
So if we think, so let's just take the 100 for a moment. So if we think of 100,000, has there been recent examples of what we've procured for 100,000?
Yep, the recent play area at Maltlands that's just been.
Play area at Maltlands.
150.
Yes, 100. That's quite a lot, isn't it? 130,
150, wasn't it?
150,000 at the Maltlands. What else have we had done? We've had walls fixed in.
No, they're to be procured. We've got another 50,000 at another park, Coniston Green. The quarry was the other one. The quarry was the last big lot of procurement, and that was 500,000-600,000. So that did have.
Yeah, I would get that as $500,000.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel generally comfortable with it. Because what we're saying is 100,000 will be more of these questions. Anything below that, effectively, it is picked and tailored based on the type of procurement you are doing. So your flower bed example, you'll be asking basically, where's your office space? Yeah, is probably what you're asking. Lisa, I don't want to turn to an auction, so Lisa, because that's probably what, 15, 20 grand beyond what inflation is.
So the most important, we have a table here. How does it relate to the table? Because if you increase one, at the moment, you've got 7.5 to 20, 20 to 65, 65 and over. So if that 65 becomes 100, does that mean it's 20,000 to 100,000?
So effectively what we're doing today is, because this is all in our financial regulations and that come back in May, what we're basically saying is this committee is making a recommendation that the financial regs are changed.
But you have to look at all three.
Yeah. But that could be folded into it, yeah.
That's for contract award, but doesn't say that.
Oh yeah, no,
social
that's
value has to be
that's
applied.
the authority to agree the contract. What we're saying here is a social value. What we're not saying is we don't want the committee to see it if it's 65,000 or over. I think you'd probably want to still see it.
We would bring that back to you anyway.
What's that?
We would definitely bring it back.
Yeah, exactly. So what we are recommending, and I'm just going to make sure this is right for the minutes, is this committee recommends that at the next appropriate moment, the financial regulations are changed. So procurement, full tender starts at £100,000. That's what we're basically saying. And I think that next moment is May, I think. Is that correct and all understood?
Yeah.
And so
Before we vote on that,
two stay as they are.
And social value.
yeah, sorry, full procurement and social value. Yeah, sorry, I know you need to do full procurement to get social value. Sorry, that's fine.
So what you're going to do between the second one, 20 to 65, and then 100,000 above? What about between 65 and 100?
So just to be clear, that table is irrelevant because that table is just about approving the contract. That's not about social value. Because if you change that, what you're saying is a committee will never see the contract approval, will never approve it if it's below 100,000. That isn't what we're saying. What we're saying is all the social value questions should be lesser.
Only applied at that value.
Yeah, only applied at £100,000. This committee still wants to sign it off at 65,000 or above.
Well, of course, yeah.
Yeah, so that table doesn't need to be changed. Councillor Payne and then Councillor Williams. It's the social value questions.
Oh, right. Okay. Thank you.
We can amend that. That can just be amended anyway.
I just happy to make the obvious things at 99,000. You know, and there is need, there is for the clerks to ask more
So
questions.
yeah, so under 100,000, it'd be one each from this.
Yeah.
At least one. Yeah, sorry, at least one.
We are some social. There's no way some of our contractors, they wouldn't even understand what that was. Our fencing contractor, for instance, who just would go, what?
Yeah, my fence has come from being cute. So just to reiterate that, so we're all really comfortable and understand it. So this committee is recommending at the next appropriate time, which is probably May, the financial regulations are changed so that contracts above 100,000 will then go to full tender and will be asked the full relevant social value questions. Yeah. That's what we're saying. Okay. Wasn't quite an option. Well, you need to propose it in second. So I'm happy to propose. John's happy to second. All those in favour of that. Perfect. Well, that didn't need to go back to EEG that don't exist, does it? Excellent. So the next policy, I think we can deal with quite quickly because that has come forwards and backwards. So the flag flying protocol, page 151 to 160. So as a reminder, I think this is cut across a couple of years. Yeah, so we're about to do that. Yeah, we debated it. We asked for some changes to be made. I think it's missed a couple of cycles and it's returned. What I would suggest is in our actual policy, it is supposed to be reviewed fairly regularly. So my recommendation would be we approve it, but also ask that the review period is changed for only the time when government makes changes to their flag policies. So therefore, this will only ever come back if there's a change of flag policy, not every damn year, as we currently have. Does that legally do what we want?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so I will propose that, which is we accept it, but the review period has changed. John will second.
Yeah.
All those in favour? Cool. So now council officers have just got to monitor the government's flag policies. That's probably easier. Bad debt policy. So this is page 161. So this was going to go to full town council, but wasn't included in the pack, hence why it's come here. So let me just open this up. So are we making the decision or just a recommendation back to full
So
council?
with any new policies, this is a review, so you can review it. It's only new policies that have to be adopted by.
Okay, so that's fine. The decision we made today will be what the bad debt policy is
Yeah.
then in practice. Okay. Similar as before, are any changes highlighted in red? So I'm just trying to find it. Well, there are none. I can see them.
This, we have got a bad debt policy. This is, oh, it's not printed any out on there this time. Nod and gov, we cannot wait for. So this is just updating what you already had with some more bones. It's in line with the SAP Practitioners Guide and Accounting Audit Regulations 15 and the now financial regs, which you adopted last year. So it's just updating it really. So it's the policy is attached on there.
It's more language than anything from what I've observed. It's the same notice, it's the same reminders, it's the same deadlines.
It's all in blue on mine. So
Yeah.
we haven't got red, we've got blue this time.
Do we need to do 2 reminders? No?
I think
We do, because sometimes
Most
somebody
of
could
us
be on,
now only do what?
yeah.
as someone who's used to officers advice, used to challenge a lot of these things, is better off over remind. That's okay.
I think sometimes if we've got a customer that we invoice monthly and they're routinely bad at paying, that might be where we wouldn't issue that second reminder for that bill, because we're constantly chasing you for every invoice we send you. So you're actually getting reminders a lot of the time. We don't have many of these now. That bad debt is next to nothing. But you do have to have something in place that is there. But we would normally send, but normal things, it would be first reminder, is it an oversight? Have you lost it? Did you not get your email? Second one would be, okay, we've asked you once politely, now we're advising you that we will be taking you to county court if you don't get it in 14 days. So that's kind of the process of it. So it's up to you. The May would only be in that
And the
scenario.
final one turn up with a gun.
Well, the final one is it goes to county court. If it's less than £100, we write it off because it's not worth going to small claims court. £100. We don't write many off though, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think we've had last 12 months
not many, have we?
one report for debt write-off.
Mm.
3 debt written off at the time, I think.
So what one must do is go into debt for £99 on a regular basis.
We'd start working with them at that point. A lot of our debt write-offs, from memory, were to do with subscriptions for Visit Weston, because there was some miscommunication or some misunderstanding. Those are the only write-offs I remember who have come in my time as chair. I think someone was ill for another one, I think.
Okay.
That's the policy. Any other questions, observations? Oh, in that case, I will propose we accept the debt policy as written. I'll have a seconder. Councillor Crew, thank you. All those in favour? Thank you very much. That's clearly carried. Okay, so the next one is agenda item 14, and that's the annual review of the council's risk register. We get this, I think, about once a year or so. Sorry, it says annual, of course it's once a year. You'll find it at page 174. It's often fairly detailed. So the question really is if you've got any observations, any challenges, do you think the way we're assessing those risks are correct? So our mitigations, are they correct? I don't think it requires approval because it's a live document, isn't it?
It is a live to receive it. So we've actually flipped it on its head, because you used to get them in September or towards the end of the financial year. So we're now doing it at the beginning of the financial year. We're identifying what we're doing for the year, identifying the risks so we can mitigate risk before we get to it. Seems more sensible, and then we'll bring you back a review at a 6-month point. So just seems a bit more practical. In terms of the system, this is the local government system we've got. I've never worked anywhere with a system like this before, but hey, this is what we've got at the moment. I think when we get to
having some time to be able to look into it, I'm sure it could be.
There's plenty of risk systems out there. It's probably a
Yes.
question, isn't it? Of is there
Yes.
something more catered to our needs?
Yes.
Any questions on risks then? In that case, that will be noted then. Agenda item 15, this is the town council's strategy. There's been an evaluation of it. You'll find that page 180 to 211. This is kind of shakes out from that strategy meeting we had as councillors in this room about 12 months ago or so. And this kind of gives an overview of some of the things we've done, predominantly taken from minutes to demonstrate how we've met the strategy. So that's why you'll find quite a lot of detail in it. That's kind of how it's structured. I suppose it's for noting as well, I would assume.
It is for noting. I think there's some comments in the report around areas which we've taken out. There's a timeline on the back. This will all go on the website, so you'll be able to see it on the website. But there were some items that were removed last time, and there was an item in Molly's report about an inclusion of devolution into the strategy, because that wasn't in the strategy.
So I'm trying to find, yeah, so devolution is proposed to be added in, which makes
Yeah.
complete sense considering where we are.
Yeah.
Can't really have a strategy when we're talking about devolution. Remind me, what's to be removed? So I know there was loads of stuff to be removed that were like policy decisions.
Yeah.
Like it was town councils against, I think it was rehab centres, new ones. That's not a strategy, that's a policy statement. So from memory, a lot of policy statements were removed. They still stand, they're just not in the strategy because they're not a strategy. What other stuff were removed?
Note the strategy in Appendix 1, that's the best practice requirements and the resolution analysis, which is the document we talked about. The suggested additions, which are Appendix 3.
Yeah, so devolution predominantly is the.
Yeah, and the other ones were removed the previous year, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah, so I thought we had removed them already.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the strategy document. It will then be translated for something to our website.
Yeah.
And to be fair, actually, some of it will come up in the annual town meeting.
Yeah.
Questions, challenges, observations?
No?
On
Well, Councillor Crewe?
page 181, the 1.8 ambition on pillar 1
Oh, implement marketing strategy.
on 1.8, can we actually marketing sounds fun, but you can market a town to encourage people to live here and business to come. But I still think we need the wording in there. We are implementing marketing strategy and the visitor come tourist strategy.
So the
Because there's 3 different things within that. Once we got the website up and running, I mean, there's 3 different things. There's marketing the place for business and people to come and live. There is visitor attraction, which is people that live within an hour. And then there's the tourism side, which brings people in from all over. And we need to break that down because the hospitality trade need the more support they can. I think, and it's easy to just say marketing and say, well, we mean lots, and then it gets lost within.
So I think so the note does say it will need to be reviewed following an upgrade of both Visit Western and Town Council websites, but actually the additional thing that's changed since then is we are taking on Super Western website as well, aren't we? So actually there's 3 things to occur before the review.
Yeah. So that is around that.
Yeah, because that was written when there was 2 of them. Yeah. So I suppose to pick up Peter's point, that comes back in early 2026. And realistically, that's summer 2026 probably, isn't it? In practice, whether that language has changed once the website's all up and running.
Yeah, the strategy will go to count. If you want to make changes to the strategy, you need to take that recommendation to council for them to add that in. You can't change the strategy here. You can make a recommendation to council.
That's a big effort for a change of wording.
Well, we did say it originally.
Any other questions on strategy?
I'm getting more and more concerned again that we're losing sight of what is important. And the importance of people working and relying on jobs in Weston is tourism and visitors. And we keep losing the words in it. And if you look at all this, if you go through all the pages, you will find we've quoted it everywhere except on the ambition.
I think in practice, this has been signed off.
If you go through all the sheets we've got, they're going back to 2025 and so on, you will see it quoted all the time. So when we get to this bit, it's not.
For me, I think this is more about language rather than output, because marketing strategy can encompass many things. It's
Quite.
going to be quite hard to use a visit Western page and not be marketing visitors.
So that particular section
Mhm.
is just identifying what hasn't had a direct resolution for it.
Yeah.
And the second half of that table is identifying why it hasn't had resolution because it's ongoing work.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
So this
Because
isn't the
websites.
whole strategy. So there could well be something in the full strategy that says it.
I'm making, when we had the discussion, quite clearly, I said it quite clear that the ambition on Western View was, it's not, and here we are on this page where it's saying Western View, our ambition, and it's not there.
I don't think
It might be somewhere else,
Yeah.
but if you're looking at the ambition on pillar 1, Western View, we've got new website in, not saying it.
I think we'll see what's in the strategy. Fundamental strategy was signed off by full council, so that's the wording the full council uses. We'd have to suggest an amendment. Feels overkill from being candid. But this is a democratic committee. Let's just find the phrase. It'll be what was it? It's 1.8, I think. 1.8. Yeah, 1.8.
Leg it out.
First pillar, so Western View, measures to promote better representing the town. So to aim to work with local community partners to ensure the town of Weston-super-Mare has a positive image.
So that's
Ambition will
1.1.
improve the image of that is 1.1. Continue to develop and improve the content of the town council website, media inclusion, development of an offensive website, increase public participation, enable truly meaningful engagement by improving the flow of information, both digitally and otherwise, review current websites, encourage shopping parades to become vibrant and well used, encourage community initiatives to use town to create creative events, festivals, pop-ups, shop supporting
Is there a
home
1.8? I'm just wondering if this is analogous to it. There you go.
communication strategy, effective
It's 1.8.
for marketing, but I'm wondering if it's in that one as well.
But the reality is that's the language that the full council signed off. So fundamentally, a recommendation would need to come to amend that language because we can't change it because we got signed off by full council. I'm not sure. I think you need to put a proposal, Peter, if that's what you. Well, I put a recommendation to change it.
Well, my proposal is under ambitions, it should equate to what we've discussed and what appears elsewhere in all these documents, where we've quoted all the way through those documents, tourism. And you'll find if you read it all through, and I've read every bit, you'll find it's there in different places all the way through last year. You find reference to tourism and visitors. And yet, when we come to the ambition bit, as we're looking at tonight, it's not there. And this is 25, 26. If you go back through 25, you'll find visitors in different places. So that's all I'm saying. It's already there.
So what's your proposal then?
That under 1.8, just to say implement a marketing strategy isn't detailed enough. It's implement marketing, tourism, and visitor strategy. That's what it's about.
That's still working as council to change that language in 1.8 of the strategy that's what's on the website. Do you have a seconder for that? Councillor Jill Butte. All those in favour? I think we can work out where this is going. All those against? And it's going to be a damn draw, isn't it? All those abstaining? Oh, did you? Sorry, I thought you were doing on the note. Okay, we'll do it again, just for the record of the camera, right? All those in favour of what Councillor Crew's proposal was, that's 5. Right, well now it's easy because the majority is 5. So that will go back to, the most appropriate one, obviously, June, to change that language.
Unless you want it to go to mayor making.
I think we can avoid mayor making, I think. That's okay, with Peter.
Yeah, I'm fine. It's,
I'm trying to avoid mayor making for something
really
else.
got one in four and
So that'll fall at June then. That's fine. That'll be picked up for council to decide on that one. The rest of that report was for noting, so that's all fine. So anything else on that before I exclude public press for Quarry? So in that case, for those watching at home, we are excluding the public and the press because there's a commercial sensitive item at Old Town Quarry. So if we could cut the recording, that would be great. Thank you.